Molly Gunn, the daughter of the late legendary rock star Tommy Gunn, is a messy, carefree, and wild-spirited girl. She resides alone in her penthouse apartment with her pet pig, Moo. On the eve of her 22nd birthday, Molly wakes up after her friends relentlessly call her. She gets dressed quickly and leaves home only to find bunches of bouquets and gifts waiting for her. Her next-door neighbor is a grouchy old man, who doesn't like that Molly resides alone in a family building. The lobby is full of gifts sent to her by fans of her father. Molly breezes past the gates and hails a taxi. She then arrives at her party venue where her friends, Henry and Ingrid, are throwing her a surprise. Molly already knows what they have planned for her but still feigns to be surprised. The party goes on and Molly enjoys herself to the fullest until one girl recommends that she gets Botox for the wrinkle on her forehead. Molly ends up in the washroom, trying to find the wrinkle on her face when a thin voice mocks her from behind a stall. The door opens and an 8-year-old girl steps out. Molly gets into a verbal tiff with the little girl who looks down upon her from her high horse and even mocks Molly's DIY hair clip. The girl seems to be a germaphobe as she brought her own soap in her bag and Molly wonders what she is even doing at a club at midnight when Henry enters the washroom, screaming at the little girl to get back out. Molly finds out she is Henry's boss's kid and she makes it so hard to keep a nanny. The girl struggles with him as he takes her outside. Back at the party, Molly asks Ingrid if she is hideous. Ingrid assures her that she could have any guy with a snap of her finger, and that's when Molly lays eyes on the singer on the stage. She instantly feels attracted to him. Henry sits her down for the show and the singer on the stage, Neil, sings a song dedicated to the birthday girl and Molly can barely keep herself from drooling. She finds out from Henry that Neil is a singer. He plans to launch to his boss, Roma, who is a big music executive and the little girl's mother. While the little girl fusses about going home and throws a huge fit, Molly tunes all the noises out and focuses on just Neil. After the party ends, Molly searches for Neil, and despite Ingrid's warning about Neil not being the type to sleep around, she still approaches him. Meanwhile, the little girl rushes her mother to get going because she needs her 8 hours of sleep. She fusses about it and literally drags her mother into the car. Later, Henry tells Neil that Roma is almost about to sign him and that is cause for celebration for him. Molly squeals, celebrating Neil's win by jumping into the man's arms. She then brings him back to her place but Neil is more interested to see her dad's guitar collection. But before she lets him enter, Molly remembers her place is a mess. She quickly cleans it up and changes into an even skimpier nightgown to entice him. She lets him into her clean and candlelit apartment and Neil is impressed to see her dad's collection. He takes a guitar and starts humming the tunes to the song Molly's father wrote for her but only upsets her. Later, Neil tells Molly that he has been sober for almost a year now, and during his journey, he's not supposed to entertain romantic relationships. But the two still end up kissing and spending the night together. And then the next night, Neil is still there and Molly is bored of him. She wants him to leave but he just won't go. She shares her misery with Ingrid who is not too surprised because Molly always does things like this. But she cannot ask him to go because she can't be the one to break his heart. When Molly gets out of the bathroom she has been hiding inside, Neil tells her that he has to leave and that he now needs some space from her. But this makes Molly anxious and now that he is the one who wants to go, she wants him to stay longer. But Neil needs to rejoin the civilization and it is far away from Molly's place since it's basically a dump. When Ingrid arrives at Molly's apartment, she finds the place in complete disarray while Molly is in bed, crying and wondering why Neil left her. Ingrid reprimands Molly for losing track of herself like that and finds out that Molly has unpaid bills and her electricity and gas have been canceled. Molly tells her that it's Bob, her father's manager, who manages her expenses and accounts. But when Ingrid tries to call Bob, she is shocked to know that Bob's number has been disconnected. Molly arrives at her lawyer's office with Ingrid and she's informed that Bob cheated many of his employers and has gone off the grid with their money. Molly can't process the shock of losing all her money and is told that it will be years before she sees her money, if ever. Desperate, she seeks counsel from her lawyer and the man advises her to get a job. Ingrid tries hooking Molly up with a job but her application is completely unacceptable, considering she has no experience doing anything at all. Ingrid still gets her a job at a store where, despite Ingrid's warnings about her being completely broke, Molly can't help but buy the expensive Egyptian cotton sheets. After shopping, Molly arrives at Neil's place with her new bed sheets. Neil lets her in and asks if he left his lucky jacket at her place. Molly invites him over to search for it but Neil tells her he can't get lost in her world again. He has to work and do things and Molly's way of life is just not for him. But Molly entices him with the Egyptian cotton sheets and Neil is pulled in by her charm. But he suggests that maybe they could date like mature adults, wake up on time, go to work, eat with cutlery, and not out of boxes as she does. Unable to resist her, Neil kisses Molly. The next morning, Molly wakes up in bed at the store and gets fired from her new job. Ingrid and Henry come to her rescue but Ingrid is extremely disappointed in Molly. Henry comes through for Molly and gets her a new job. Molly is hired as a nanny for Ray, the little girl from the club. Ray is uptight and the complete opposite of Molly and that is the cause of friction between the two. She is always popping pills and super worried about her hygiene. Her lack of childlike behaviors makes her even harder to deal with. When Molly arrives at Ray's house, she finds out about Ray's father, who has been in a coma for a long time. Ray remains closed off when Molly inquires about him. When she enters Ray's room, Molly finds herself mesmerized by just how proper and organized everything is. She starts fiddling with Ray's stuff and the little girl just can't take it. After dinner, Ray gets Molly to clean the dishes instead of having the maid do it, and that irks Molly more than anything. The two get into an argument over wiping the plate and engage in a tug of war with the plate, which eventually falls down and crashes. Molly angrily walks away from Ray because she is such a brat, and Ray commands her to stay put since she works for her. Molly reminds her that she works for her mother, to which Ray says that since her mother is never around, it's her who runs the show and Molly can't leave unless she says so. Annoyed and fed up with Ray's bossiness, Molly decides to quit. When she arrives home, she finds Moo locked out of the apartment, and the building committee informs her that she has been evicted from the premises because of her erratic lifestyle, her pet pig, and all of her unpaid dues. Having nowhere to go, Molly arrives at Neil's place, but the man does not let her in. Eventually, Ingrid steps up and lets Molly reside with her, but strictly suggests that Molly needs to declutter because all of her belongings cover half of Ingrid's apartment, and Moo has to go. Molly thanks Ingrid for her generosity and wants to buy her a housewarming gift, but when Ingrid tells her that just paying half the rent would be enough, Molly finds herself in a pickle. The next day, she shows up at Ray's ballet lesson and apologizes to her for the way she behaved the other day. If Molly is to make rent, she needs to get her job back, and the only way she can do that is if Ray allows it. The girl reluctantly agrees and puts Molly on probation. On the walk back home, Molly goofs around and Ray mocks her ballet moves. They argue back and forth and Ray shows Molly the finger. Molly loses her carefree attitude and gets Ray to take it back. And then, as a reward for corrected behavior, Molly tells her that she has a surprise for Ray. Ray insists that she hates surprises and indeed is grossed out to see Moo in her room. Molly brings Ray with her to her sale, where Molly has a hard time parting with her stuff. Ingrid and Henry help her through the process, and when Molly starts to hyperventilate, Ingrid convinces her that this is something she wants to do. Molly feels sad to part with her childhood home. After having sold most of her belongings, the only thing she is left with is her father's guitar collection. When Ray catches Molly being sentimental over it, she chastises her for being pathetic. Molly feels hurt by her comment but reckons Ray is being this way because of her father, who is in a coma. Ray tells her that the man used to be her father before, but he's just a vegetable now. Her harsh comment surprises and worries Molly about Ray, but the little girl emotionlessly responds that it's a harsh world. Molly starts to settle into her new life and arrives at the laundromat to do her laundry. While she waits, she leaves Neil a message telling him about her currently haphazard life and promises to hold on to his lucky jacket for him until he comes to get it from her. Under Ray's instructions, Molly gives Moo a proper cleaning, which doesn't exactly go smoothly. Yoga with Ingrid and her friends doesn't go as expected either, and Molly is left with a sprained neck. She struggles to make ends meet by trying to spend her life as a commoner and by being bossed around by a temperamental 8-year-old girl. In her free time, she even revamps Neil's lucky jacket, giving it a new rock star-worthy look. When Neil finally returns her calls, Molly readily agrees to meet him. At dinner, Neil tells Molly about his new record deal, and Molly is so happy for him. He has her over at his place to listen to his song, and Molly jumps in joy, so happy that he wrote the song about her. She then shows him the jacket she revamped for him, but Neil's reaction is not what she expected. He doesn't like what Molly has done with his lucky jacket, and then he breaks up with her. The next day at tea with Ray, Molly is still upset about Neil, and Ray yet again mocks her for being pathetic and mopey. She asks her to act like a grown-up and even says that Molly is scared to grow up because she is worried that people will come for her. Her observation does hit close to home, but Molly chooses to ignore it. Instead, she tries to teach Ray that having fun is not about doing 200 piles, but about loosening up a little. She puts on some dance music, and despite Ray's protests, she gets her moving along to the beat and spins her around. But Molly's actions fail to have the desired effect, and it leaves Ray even more disgruntled. Later that night, while Molly is getting ready for a date, Ingrid reminds her of the high tea event they had to go to together. When Molly refuses to go with her, it upsets Ingrid, and the two have an argument where Molly tells Ingrid that just because she resides with her doesn't mean that Ingrid can control her life now. Ingrid throws Molly out of her apartment, and she ends up at Henry's place. Molly is at a party on her day off when she spots Roma there. She instantly remembers Ray's dance recital to which she was invited. Seeing Roma at the party makes her feel bad for Ray, since not even her mother will be there in the audience for the little girl. At her recital, when Ray doesn't see either Molly or her mother there, the girl holds back her disappointment from showing and powers through. The next day, Ray lies in bed, pretending to be sick when Molly comes in on her day off with the agenda of taking Ray to an amusement park. On the ride over, Molly finds out that Ray has never once been to an amusement park, let alone Disneyland. This breaks her heart for the little girl, and Molly gets Ray to admit and feel her excitement. Ray resists the feeling, but the girl feels really psyched on the inside. When they finally arrive there, Molly gets Ray to try a hot dog, despite her aversion to street food. But later on, she finds out that Kenai Island remains closed during off-seasons and Molly is a week early. This disheartens Ray and all she can do is stare at the teacup ride which she was so excited to get on. She hardens her heart yet again and hides her disappointment behind her stony exterior, and simply walks away. Back home, Molly confides in Ray about the day her parents passed away. She was 8 years old and upset with them for leaving her behind while they were going on a tour. When her parents came to say goodbye, Molly didn't open the door for them and they left. The next thing she knew, her parents passed away in a plane crash. Ray thinks that Molly was lucky because she was mad at them when they left, and that means she can act like she never knew them at all. This way she doesn't have to feel sucky about it and moving on is easier. But Molly tells her that she wasn't mad, only confused. After her parents' death, she packed a bag and ran away to Kenai Island. At the time she had thought that it was a real island, but to her surprise, it was an amusement park. Over there, young Molly sat in the teacup ride and started spinning herself round and round until everything blurred. Molly is in tears as she admits to Ray that she was right and that she is scared, but so is Ray. She only wanted to go with her to ride in the teacups and help her feel better as she had back then. Molly cries in the little girl's arms and falls asleep next to her. Deep into the night, Ray wakes up and goes into her dad's room. The next morning, Molly goes looking for Ray but instead finds a shirtless Neil in the kitchen. She puts two and two together and figures out that Neil had spent the night with Roma. Heartbroken, Molly runs away from there and keeps on running until she can't breathe anymore. She breaks down and jumps off the bridge into waist-deep contaminated water, though all it does is make her sick. Ray takes care of Molly and she then talks to the little girl about spending time with her dad. Ray wants to sit close to him and read quietly, but Molly suggests that she should read out loud to him, and assures her that it helps patients heal faster if people speak to them, and that gives the little girl some hope. Ray makes Molly promise her that it will get better and her dad will listen to her voice, then asks Molly to come with her to her father's room. Molly asks the nurse to give them some privacy. Ray is a little nervous at first, not knowing what to say to her father, but Molly guides her to start slow, and Ray starts with telling her dad about Moo. Molly is at home, sewing a new dress for Ray's recital when Henry plays her Neil's first music video. Molly hates how Neil is harping on the song he wrote because of her and feels even more betrayed to see him wearing the jacket she revamped for him and which he had claimed to hate so much. Just as Molly starts to feel bad about how things turned out, Henry comforts her and helps her feel better. The doorbell rings and Molly finds Moo at her doorstep. She senses something must be wrong with Ray and immediately leaves for her place. There she finds out that Ray's father has passed away. When Molly goes to her room to comfort the little girl, she sees Ray practicing ballet. Ray is angry at her and gets Molly called away by her mother. When Molly meets Roma, the woman hands her the paycheck in severance and informs her of her termination. This shocks and confuses Molly. She demands an explanation, and Roma informs her that Ray no longer wants her as her nanny. Molly realizes Ray must be swimming deep in grief to have said that, but the girl's mother is simply ignorant about that. Instead, she thinks Ray is taking her father's passing rather well as she is going about her life as usual. Molly is astonished to find out that Roma can't see how that's not taking it well. The woman doesn't care about Ray at all and Molly can't stand her ignorance toward her daughter. She tears her paycheck apart and tells the woman off for treating her daughter like a 28-year-old when she's an 8-year-old girl who needs her mother's love. Outside the building, Molly runs into Neil, who's been waiting for her. He calls her his muse and tries to stop her, but Molly is in no mood to deal with him. Neil tells her that he hasn't been able to write a single decent song since they last saw each other, but Molly can't be bothered with him anymore. This makes Neil mad and he accuses her of pursuing him when he wasn't ready, and then when he wants to make it work, she's not interested. Molly tells him off, calling him selfish and always taking away from her. But she's got nothing to give to him right now. Molly finally decides to auction off her dad's guitar collection because it's all she's left with now. Despite her dad's fame, Molly is unable to get a decent amount for them. So, when an anonymous buyer makes an offer of $75,000 for the entire collection, Molly has no choice but to give up the last of her father's stuff. Later, Molly shows her new apartment to Henry. The place is an absolute dump and Henry assures her that he isn't kicking her out of his apartment and that she could still stay there. But Molly has decided that it's time for her to stand on her own 2 feet. Suddenly, Henry gets a call from Roma asking him about Ray's whereabouts. She talks to Molly and Molly finds out that Ray hasn't been home from school and is now missing. Molly runs out of there, worried sick, and tries to think where the girl might be. Just then, it hits her and Molly arrives at Kenai Island. There, she finds Ray sitting inside the teacup ride all by herself. She takes a seat with her and then starts spinning the ride along with Ray. They go round and round until Ray gets sick. The girl is frustrated and angry and heartbroken and she lets it all out on Molly, hitting and punching her. Molly hugs the little girl and holds her as she breaks down. Soon, a funeral is held for Ray's father. There, Molly is approached by various men asking her about the jacket she designed for Neil. They want her to make them something like that as well. Molly refuses their offer at first but eventually sees the opportunity to work and decides to take up the gig. When she comes across Ingrid, Molly realizes how much she has missed her best friend, and the two reunite. When Molly goes to see Ray, the little girl offers Molly her job back but Molly doesn't take it, She has other plans, but she promises Ray that they will now be friends with each other. Soon, through her outstanding references, Molly manages to get herself enrolled in college for a degree in fashion. She's at the interview when she remembers that she had to be at Ray's recital. Molly rushes to get there on time while Ray impatiently searches the audience for her. Luckily, Molly manages to arrive just in time for the show and cheers Ray on as she gets on the stage for her special performance. Ray also has a special guest performing with her, and Molly is surprised to see Neil on the stage with one of her father's guitars. In front of everyone, he dedicates his performance to a special person, looking at Molly the entire time, and then sings to her the song that her dad wrote for her. This is accompanied by another special performance by Ray where she has her entire team dancing with Molly's dad's guitars. As she watches the little kids' performance, Molly's heart feels full with the love she receives from her, and this marks the start of their new beginning.